morning. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of your favorite program, your number one breakfast television show, and that is Inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred Bebo, and I'm your guest this midweek edition of the program. With me in the studio is a guest. Unfortunately, I don't have my regular midweek guest today, but I have another guest. Of course, the second time appearing on the program. He is Hashim Suleiman. He's a political scientist. He's also a public affairs analyst. Suleiman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presence
I
today.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We have so many papers on our menu for review this midweek. And as usual on the program, we like to start with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, and that is Leadership. Leadership is leading with a story on the appointment of service chiefs, and it says new service chiefs, military tradition sends 40 generals packing. New service chiefs, military tradition sends 40 generals packing. It will inject new blood into nation security architecture. Experts. I will chase criminals like a tiger, acting IGP. Actually, it's the story that has made rounds yesterday that I have the tigers in me. I'm going to, I'm the lion. And it says, I will chase criminals like a tiger, acting IGP. Well, is it? Is a good one. At least he has a panache to do the work that he's been appointed to do. And still on leadership, 10th National Assembly battle shifts to reps principal officials. 10th NAS battle shifts to reps principal officials. And of course, on the cover of leadership, we can't not mention the picture of the wives and son of the late media guru, the AIT, Dark Communication, High Chief Raymond Dokwesi, widows of the founding chairman of Dark Communications, Chief Raymond Dokwesi, Tosin Dokwesi, Moji Dokwesi, and Fumi Dokwesi, and his son Raymond Dokwesi Jr. at the Requiem Mass in honor of the late media Mugu at the Church of Assumption, Abuja, yesterday. May his soul rest in peace. And still on leadership, leadership says $60 billion Afrexim Bank asset base, more funding for Nigeria orders. $60 billion Afrexim Bank asset base, more funding for Nigeria orders. Tribunal, Atiku, PDP reduce witnesses to 30, close case tomorrow. Tribunal, Atiku, PDP reduce witnesses to 30, close case tomorrow. Kanu needs ear surgery, lawyer test court. We have EFCC quizzes autumn over alleged fraud. Editors recommit to defend democracy. Suspended CBN Governor Emefiele knows fate July 13. Before we leave leadership, we have to see the editorial stand of the paper, and that is on page 3. Our stand. It says refugees deserve support, not pushbacks. Refugees deserve support, not pushbacks. We move over to the back page of leadership. Is between soaring food prices and domestic hunger. Between soaring food prices and domestic hunger. Of course, the guest column with Chiamaka Adinu. Of course, our Wednesday guest used to be Hanatu Musawa, who, by the way, just got appointment as a senior advisor on culture and entertainment economy. Congratulations to her. And just before we go, we have Ghana Must Go. I feel like a tiger ready to devour criminal. AG IGP Egbetukun. Start from Sambisia, please. That's how Ghana Must Go replied. Well, for more stories on leadership, just log on to the website www.leadership.ng. From leadership, we are going to the paper that also has similar story with leadership, and that is the Punch. The Punch says new service chiefs, 100 military generals may be retired. New service chiefs, 100 military generals may be retired, although leadership says 40 generals packing. The Point says 100 military generals may be retired. Retirement gale to hit Army, Air Force, Navy, cost 37. Others may be affected. Shetima decorates acting IG Egbetukun as Baba back successor to succeed. Retirement gate to hit Army, Air Force, Navy cost 37. Others may be affected. Shetima decorates acting IG Egbetukun as Baba back successor to succeed. And of course, you can see pictures of the VP Kashim Shettima decorating the IG, Egbetukun, the acting IG. Above the masthead of the punch, we have federal government votes 24 billion naira for 10th National Assembly members' accommodation. Naira closes 756 naira 756 to a dollar as trading rises at official window. State's external debt rises to 3 trillion naira. Above beneath the pictures, we have Kefas begins probe of Ishaku government in Taraba. Kefas begins probe of Ishaku government in Taraba. Bauchi man sets lady ablaze over alleged witchcraft. Benue PDP backs Otom as EFCC grace as governor. Before we leave the punch, let's quickly see what the editorial is saying. The Punch editorial says student loans and tertiary education funding crisis. Student loans and tertiary education funding crisis. For more stories and for more on that editorial, just log on to the website of www.punchng.com. From the Punch, we move over to the Nation. The Nation also has similar story on the appointment of service chiefs. The Nation says wide acclaim great service chiefs order appointments. Wide acclaim greets service chiefs order appointments. Is a unifier, acting IG says I will battle criminals like tiger. I will battle criminals like tiger, says the acting Inspector General of Police. Sokoto governor rides bicycle to inspect hospital in disguise is on page 2 of the Nation. Neiti raises more dust over NNPCL's 60 million daily petrol consumption claim. Agency begins process to determine actual figure. A lot was hiding under subsidy. The removal of subsidy has also removed all the incentives for hyping these figures. Above the masthead, Emefiele will flee if admitted to bail, AGF DSS tell court. NACON NEMA back to VP's office, government reverses decision. EFCC quizzes Autumn. Atiku Obi to close petitions at tribunal this week. Atiku Obi to close petitions at tribunal this week. Naira trades at 756 naira to a dollar. And of course, we have story on Tinubu, President Tinubu in Paris for Global Summit. NDLEA NAFDAC boards not dissolved, says federal government. That's the story on the Nation. From the Nation, we move over to the next paper, and that is Daily Sun. Daily Sun says PDP's reconciliation talks suffer setback. Article governors Wike others absent. We all contributed to outcome of 2023 polls, say party stakeholders. EFCC agrees release Autumn after 10 hours over alleged misappropriation of funds. Emefiele knows fate July 13. I feel like tiger ready to chase away all criminals, acting IGP. Cardinal Nayeka hails change of service chiefs, asks Tinubu to alter security structure. Imo PDP accuses defected SWC members of mismanaging 1.4 billion naira campaign funds. Anyanwu Okorocha reportedly in unholy deal. ROMAFC wants 36 states assembly to amend relevant laws. Editors committed to defense of democracy, freedom, NGE, that is Nigerian Guild of Editors. Enugu Guba Tribunal dismisses Naji's petition against Mba Idioga. Atiku PDP closed case challenging Tinubu's victory. Again, lament difficulties in getting documents from INEC. Neiti praises Tinubu's determination to end subsidy regime. From that, we see what this day is saying. This Wednesday, June 24th, 2023. This day says Naira achieves convergence as official parallel rates close at 756 Naira. Naira achieves convergence as official parallel rates close at 756 Naira. CBN halts quotation of offer rates for Naira settled OTS foreign exchange futures contract, eyes further reforms. Fitch forecast nation's currency to end 2023 at 700 naira per barrel per dollar. Sorry. Predict CBN's policy rate to slump by 150 barrel per BPS to 17% by year end. Projects petrol subsidy removal to trigger inflation in neighboring countries. Federal government exempts NDLEA, NAFDAC boards from dissolution. Above the masthead of this day, we have 6,221 Nigerian daughters lost to the UK in 6 years. International College of Surgeons reveals. Says over 40 million Nigerians find it difficult to seek doctor. PDP's review committee says Article 1 presidential poll waiting on tribunal. And of course, we are looking at the next paper we have, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian says digital switchover falters, 29 states remain on analog. Digital switchover falters, 29 states remain on analog. Dollar trades at discount against naira in black market. Like Nigeria, foreign airlines won Ethiopia over 95 million naira stock fund consequences. Sowore spends 40 million naira on presidential poll, challenges APC orders to declare campaign expenses. PEPC Atiku Abubakar PDP to close case against Tinubu's election Thursday. Shettima decorates acting IGP Egbetokun. EFCC quizzes ex-Benue governor Autumn over alleged misappropriation. Court fixes July 13th for judgment in Emefiele's suit against federal government. For more stories, you just have to log on to the website of The Guardian, www.guardian.ng. Just before we go, let's see what the editorial on The Guardian says today. Time to cut waste, trim public expenditure. Time to cut waste, trim public expenditure. That is the editorial on The Guardian. Time to cut waste, trim public expenditure. From The Guardian, we see Blueprint newspaper. Blueprint says, after decoration, IGP Egbetokun declares, I feel like a lion in me, ready to devour nation's enemies. That is a fine one to talk because there's nothing like a man with so much zeal to work. I feel like a lion in me, ready to devour nation's enemies. He's a worthy successor, says Akali. Because you see the picture of the VP decorating him close to his wife, while his wife, Mrs. Elizabeth Egbetokun, watches on. Autumn in EFCC custody for questioning, although another paper has it that he has been released after 10 hours in their custody. Woman slips into well, dies fetching water in Kwara. Foreign exchange market not free float, CBN clarifies. Tinubu approves return of NEMA NACON to VP's office, exempts NDLEA NAFDAC's boards from dissolution. And that is all we can take on Blueprint newspaper. For more on the stories, log on to the website www.blueprint.ng. From the Blueprint newspaper, we have the last paper on our menu today, and that is Vanguard. We don't have it. Anxiety as ICE depot petrol price rises to 490 naira per litre. Anxiety as S depot petrol price rises to 490 naira per litre. Retail price rises to 515 naira. Major marketers lift at 446.57 per litre. Naira per litre. Regulator unavailable at filling stations. PMS now for the rich NLC. Deregulation drives change in price, Ipman. We are still far from deregulation, Professor Iledare. Anxiety as air depot petrol price rises to 490 naira per litre. EFCC releases ex-governor Autumn after 10 hours grilling. 6,221 Nigerian doctors lost to UK in 6 years, says International College of Surgeons. Presidential poll, Tinubu closes defense June 30. Atiku Obi close cases Friday. Above the masthead of Vanguard, we have Confab. We are committed to press freedom, the defense of democracy. editors. Nigerian Guild of Editors says NDLEA General Ogunewe retired. Porter Novelli congratulate Eze and Naba, the editor of Vanguard newspaper, who emerged as the NGE, that is Nigerian Guild of Editors editor. While we opposed Nnamdi Kanu's request for access to his medical records, DSS, I feel like Tiger ready to devour criminals, acting IGP Egbetukun. So criminals, you have better beware because we have a tiger in acting Inspector General of Police Egbetukun. Value of federal government, value of FGM bonds down by 93.2% to 183 billion naira. The story is on page 9 of Vanguard. Just before we go, like we did with other subsequent previous papers, we just want to see what the editorial is today. And the editorial on Vanguard says, who will protect police escorts? Who will protect police escorts? That's the Vanguard's comment. And for more stories on Vanguard and including inside pages, just log on to their website www.vanguardngr.com. Yeah, we are going on a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing some of the headline stories today. Don't go away, just stay tuned.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Welcome back to the second segment of your number one breakfast show on television Inside Nigeria. And with me in the studio, as I introduced earlier, is Hashim Suleiman. He is a political scientist, also a public affairs analyst.
Yeah,
You're welcome
thank
once
you.
again. Now we are ready to go. We are discussing the front page headline story on leadership, and also it's the same story on the punch. Why is it that we just have to go this route every time we make appointments and all these services like daily leadership, leadership, and the point pointed out, cause 37 others may be affected. Why does it have to go to this through this route all the time?
Okay, so this is bordering more about management of individuals, and if you go usually into a working environment, you usually find out that people at a certain level at the top
Yes,
are already used to the norm, are already used to the usuals,
yes,
to the
situation.
usual way of doing
Doing
things,
things.
which has not necessarily over time brought about any success as to what is to be done. So perhaps, and maybe you'll have to go down maybe a little memory lane to understand some things. I mean, a lot of young people who were maybe born in 1999, trust me, do not know a lot about a lot of our leaders that have come, especially maybe the major candidates in, for example, Atiku and Tinubu. They don't know much about them, and so you could see the buzz around. But maybe for some of us who, at least at that time, had been able, there are some things that are happening that are not surprising, in the sense that we understand the individual that has become the president now. We understand him to be somebody who's critical about things he loves to do. And so it's only natural that I'm sure some research must have been subjected inside the military, and I'm sure he was able to understand. I'm able to tap into his thinking to see that it is this idea of understanding that some people at the top level must have definitely got accustomed to the usual way of doing things. And how can you be able to mitigate that? The only way you can do that is to let these people go and get somebody who perhaps has more zeal and more ability. Maybe you even know him to a large extent based on either recommendations or actually know him, to be able to bring him so he can inject the needed new energy, that you need to achieve what
Okay,
you
in
want to
other words,
achieve.
what you are saying that many of these orders, maybe even in seniors, have become lethargic over the
Yeah,
years. So
perhaps,
there's need to inject
the
fresh blood,
inertia and so
inertia.
many things. So I see it from that point of view, that you just want to come and start on a fresh. But talking about the retirement is not necessarily, but then, psychologically, it's difficult that somebody who is below you comes to become
Your
your
boss.
leader in such kind of an environment where seniority plays a big role in terms of the things that people do. It's only natural that those above will have to go in order for this new individuals to take full leadership state.
Okay. Now talking about the appointment of the Inspector General of Police, acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun. I think since yesterday he made this statement, it has been trending. What an attitude. He said, I feel like lion ready to devour criminals.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what would you say to that?
Yeah,
Personally, I feel that it's a good attitude.
yeah, absolutely. When I saw him
Mm.
actually speaking about it, and then you go through the social media and what
Yes,
have you,
that's
you
what's been
see
trending
that
since.
people have been sharing a picture of him and the president
Yes.
as many years as possible, that he was the
Wow.
chief security officer
To
of this president. So
president.
what are you usually expected to get from such kind of relationship is that, look, if you're a leader, there's nothing that is more important than having people who are ready to take a bullet for you.
Yes.
People who are ready to actually protect your interest at all costs. And then when you look at that kind of relationship now that the new IGP has had with the president, spanning over so many years of absolute understanding and what have you, then the only thing you're expecting is that you have an IG who is ready to actually give it all to protect the interest of his principal. And you can see that the initial attitude now already portrays somebody who would actually come. So that means that Nigerians would expect a new leaf in the police. It's not going to be the business as usual of somebody doing what he likes. We're expecting to now see an IGP that will have the full interest of his principal at heart. And if you have the full interest of your principal at heart, of course, is that in the short term, at least in another 1 year, we should see a totally new character, new attitude in the Nigerian police force, so that at least at the end of the day, he will vindicate.
But a
his
lot needs to be done because personally, as an individual, he will not be able to do it alone. Changing the orientation of his men is also very very crucial because after all said and done, the attitude of the officers on the field, they basically most times tell different story.
Yeah, but actually, leadership doesn't work. Once you are ready to lead from the front, trust me, a whole majority of the people will follow. And then what again? Secondly, is that there has to be consequences for
Yeah,
misdemeanor.
misdemeanor.
So once you're ready to lead from the front one, and your desire is absolute and honest, and then also you're ready to wield the stick on those who are not like ready to follow suit, or who are not ready to. Then there's that. Then the third one, and very important also, is that I'm sure he's been in the police force for quite some time now, so he knows who is who. He knows who are his friends. He knows people who share the same kind of mindset with him. So of course he will identify those people and bring him as his maybe like kitchen cabinet, and those who would advise him. And then he has the zeal to lead from the front, and then you also are ready to show consequences for misdemeanor. Then it's only natural that you expect that there will be a shift in mindset and character. So that's why I say that this initial character shows somebody who is actually ready to lead from the front, and I think it's very, very instrumental.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. At least let's hope and keep our fingers crossed that you to be able to translate into the total transformation and overhauling of the police force. Yes. Another most important second topic we are taking today is on also another leading story on this day. It also makes cover on Vanguard and other papers too. 6,221 Nigerian doctors lost to the UK in 6 years. International College of Surgeons reveals says over 40 million Nigerians find it difficult to see doctor. So what do you see there? We'll be talking about medical tourism all this while, and then the government of the day continues to pay lip service to it. What can be done? Because 6 years, in these 6 years, it's basically under two terms of President Muhammadu
Yes.
Buhari, ex-President Muhammadu Buhari, and we've lost 6,221 doctors have actually emigrated to UK to take up jobs.
So you see,
What
the
is
thing
happening?
is, professional qualifications or professionals, usually they are managed with kid gloves, because, and especially a profession like medical doctors, now in a time where the genetically modified items that we eat cause a lot of ailments nowadays. So that means if you check the world over, there's an increased need for medical doctors. And then all of these things about profession is about condition of service. Everybody, every professional wants to feel like he's getting the appropriate wages or is getting the appropriate care. So what have we had in leadership in the past is that rather than actually concentrate on identifying professions, their peculiarities, and how to manage them, we tend to manage everybody the same.
Way.
The
And
fact is, you can't manage a social scientist the same way you manage.
And this number is also ironic in the sense that we had a president that was always traveling abroad for medical treatment, to seek medical treatment. So
maybe
obviously,
that may
he didn't actually pay particular attention
it
to
may
doctors.
not be about that. Look, as a leader, right? You have appointed people in different sectors. I'm not sure the president will say that.
But don't forget that during the president's when Buhari was manning the saddle, the first lady Aisha Buhari did raise the alarm that even in in Villa, the clinic there, that there was not even
that there was no. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So that's what I'm saying, that he didn't actually pay particular attention.
Yeah, but you have to look at it from this point of view, right? I am not sure a president, anyone for that matter, will sit with any minister of health, for example, and tell him, don't do your job. Yes, perhaps the leader should have the ability to monitor and supervise. But you see, once you're a professional and you have the zeal to do the job, and you're given, for example, to be the minister of health, then your responsibility is to engage in research, to be able to understand what are the areas that I need to work on. And I'm sure if you do the appropriate things and you put out your recommendations to the president, I'm not sure any president will say, no, I will not sign this because I go to the
president
UK.
Is also
So the thing,
no, the former president was also aware of the fact that most of his tertiary institutions under his purview didn't have a basic equipment and facilities. Talking about some, even we have a situation whereby all these cancer like radiotherapy machines and all whatnot. They even broke down. In
Yes.
National Assembly, you have to get appointment to come for radiotherapy for services. You
Exactly.
understand? So you want to say
But
president
you
was
can
not
see,
aware
no,
during
no,
his
he
time.
will be
Concerted
aware.
efforts
Now
were
that's
not
what I'm
actually
saying.
made to ensure
Absolutely,
to
I
equip.
totally agree with you. You see, the point I'm trying to drive at is this: the president had an opportunity, while knowing all of these things, to equally make the appropriate, because whatever intentions that you have, without the appropriate appointments, trust me, nothing is going to happen. And that's what we're just talking about the IG here now. That it appears that the president has put the right peg in the right hole,
the right
so
hole.
that at the end of the day, we're expecting that he understands the inside of it, and he's going to do the needful. That's the same thing. So what am I trying to say is that a lot of the areas that I think it will not be about the president not wanting the health sector to work, but it is about him perhaps not making the right appointments of people who would actually come and disrupt the usual. You understand? Because in Nigeria, a lot of these sectors require to be disrupted, so that you bring in a totally new mindset around how to manage all of these things. So with the way the new president has started now, we will perhaps be optimistic that he's going to bring in people who would come and make a research into these areas and totally come up with a new method that we're going to use to
Yes,
manage
but
some of these areas.
getting the right people in the positions, getting the right people in positions is not actually the case, because we saw that we've seen situations whereby even the so-called right people are not able to manage the sector so well. Talking about the what we have now, the sham of Nigerian air launching. Had is the aviation minister was actually from the sector. He was a pilot.
Yeah, so now
So
talking
now,
about
during the President Muhammadu Buhari's tenure, he had a professor, former UI VP,
yeah,
as a Minister of Health
yes,
in his first term. Second
yes,
term, we have Dr. Ihanire
yes,
Saigi as also Minister of Health. But they have not been able to manage the sector
yeah,
very
yeah.
well, because
So
the situation whereby we have doctors, when doctors down to, it's also part of their, one of their reasons that the facilities which they operate are lacking, bereft of equipment, facilities. That is also
that's
one
why
of their
you see professionalism. The
grudges.
fact that I read a certain course does not make my mindset right about getting the job done. So there are two different things, right?
Yes.
You have to have, now let me also give you, for example, with the aviation guy you talk. You see, the aviation guy looks cerebral. He's been a hands-on person on
Exactly,
the
as a
job. And in
pilot.
all honesty, now, if you want to be honest with him and you check his tenure, you see that, for example, accident in the air sector has reduced to a large extent. I mean, he was speaking the other day, and also so many new entrants, new airlines like the IBOM Airs of this world, they all came under that. So apparently, he must have set the right, what do you call it? The issue about Nigerian Air is something totally different. He made his own case about it. It's been argued out there as to whether it was right or not. But that's not to say he was all of it. But then again, if you look critically, you'll find out that that touch of his having the right mindset to a large extent really contributed in some developments in the air sector. So these are the things. It's not about having that I read this course. It's about having the right, and some of these things
That
can
at
be
8
gotten
good years,
from
first year
people's.
that he said the Nigerian Air was going to fly, didn't fly, but we saw that during just few days to the exit, he just masqueraded Ethiopian Air to come and said at the end of the day, still he was not telling Nigerians that it was a marketing strategy.
Yeah, he said it
Marketing
was
strategy. When he told us that it was
it was
Nigerian Air,
Ethiopian Air's marketing
anyway, the case is also
strategy.
still in
Yeah, that's
debate,
what I'm
because
saying. It's still being
I,
argued.
there were reports, so many reports on that he failed to deliver on the said goals in the aviation sector, that nothing was realized at
I
the end of
guess
the day.
it's arguable.
So it's many people has reported it. There are so many reports on that. Anyway, back to the health sector, because we are said, like WHO said, what WHO estimated 40 doctors to a patient. But the case is not like that in Nigeria. Now, the surgeons, the International College of Surgeons, says that over 40 million Nigerians find it difficult to see a doctor.
Yeah, because honestly, it's just about the condition of service. It's not right.
And
It's not
when
encouraging.
President
So nobody would want to go.
Major General retired Buhari came into power when as a military officer, one of the reasons he gave was that our hospitals are like mere consulting clinics. That was the one he used.
Absolutely.
Now, many years after, since he became president, Nothing has changed.
Nothing. A lot of the things have even gone bad with news like this about people
Exactly.
living.
A lot of things have even gone bad.
The country
Exactly.
is not a nice optics, and honestly,
And
these are areas
6 years within his tenure.
Mhm.
So basically, it's not just rhetoric. Every time it's always rhetoric. Oh, do this, do that.
Yeah.
What should be done? That is why I'm asking.
That's why I said you have to disrupt the system. Look, a lot of they say if you keep doing the same thing all the time without it bringing different results, you're simply wasting your time. So it has to go beyond just appointing a minister and then budgeting every year and doing. You have to disrupt the system. There has to be a deliberate thing. I mean, look at how the president is discussing how to up the minimum wage now. From the reports we're seeing, some people are saying 150,000 to 200,000. I mean, that's looking like a realistic fund that if you're giving somebody, he's ready to come as early as possible and giving his all and try as much as. So there has to be a disruption. There has to be a total departure from the way we do things. So these doctors, as critical as they are, like I told you, now we're in a time in the world where ailments are becoming very, very prevalent because of what we eat and what have you, and our lifestyle and all of that. So that means that it's a critical area that we need to give a lot of attention. They need to be listened to, especially their welfare. It's all about welfare. Once you take care of a personnel, he has got his house to retire to. He can take his kids to school without paying a penny. He can do all his, get a car loan and do all the, and his take-home pay is good enough as probably compared to what you will even see as advertised in the UK or Canada. There's nothing that's going to stop him from staying back to give you his all. So I think these are just the areas we need disruptors generally in the system. Just like the IG now is appearing like he wants to be a disruptor. It's so soothing to hear. So we need to see more disruptors. He's
already talking tough
in a lot of the critical sector. Already the CBN, you can see convergence now. So it's either you want to buy dollar at its price,
yes, you can see convergence now. Yes, that's what
so there's a disruption already in the usual way, rather than coming to even on the fuel subsidy. When people keep talking about fuel subsidy, the president said, "Oh, it's gone." Trust me, if he had allowed maybe for a conversation, rhetorics, before you know, some people have started to convince him, no, sir, don't take it off now. No, the political effect of it, because that would be the usual thing they'll use to intimidate you. So, but once you've disrupted it, and now already it's becoming a reality, we're only waiting to see what the proceeds of it will be at the end of the day. So, I mean, basically, there's nothing more than appointing the right people who are also disruptive in nature.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, viewers, we've come to the end of today's Inside Nigeria. Tomorrow is still another day you have with me in the studio. Is a political scientist, is also a public affairs analyst, Hashim Suleiman. Thank you so much. I look forward to having you
Thank you so much.
So, viewers, this is where we end today's program. Till I come your way again tomorrow, same time, same station. This is me telling you bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158.